She didn't fall in love with him because the world believed in him. She fell in love because he believed in himself, even on the nights when no one else stayed. She met him at a time when he was unfinished, uncertain, and quietly breaking inside. He wasn't impressive on paper. His dreams were bigger than his reality, his confidence smaller than his heart. The world looked at him and saw potential at best, failure at worst. But there was something about the way he spoke about his dreams, softly, like he was afraid they might leave if he raised his voice. He told her once, "I don't know if I'm enough yet." She smiled and replied, "Then believe until you are." That was the beginning, not of their love story, but of his relationship with himself. Every love story has obstacles. For them, it wasn't distance or betrayal. It was doubt, doubt that crept in late at night. Doubt that whispered, "You're not ready. You're not strong. You're not chosen." And every time doubt knocked, self-belief answered, sometimes trembling, sometimes exhausted, but always present. Self-belief doesn't shout. It doesn't promise success overnight. It sits beside you in silence when the world turns away. It says, "Stay. Try again. One more step." She watched him fail. More than once. She watched doors close, plans fall apart, and hope look thinner each day. But what made her fall deeper wasn't his success, it was the way he kept standing back up. He didn't wait for applause. He didn't beg for validation. He looked in the mirror and chose to believe, even when belief felt like betrayal to logic. Love notices that kind of courage. As his belief grew, so did the way he walked, the way he spoke, the way he loved. Self-belief changed the tone of his voice before it changed his circumstances. And suddenly, people who once ignored him began listening. Not because he changed who he was, but because he trusted who he was becoming. Here's the truth no one tells you. Love can inspire you, but only self-belief can sustain you. Love can hold your hand, but self-belief teaches you how to walk alone when necessary. And the strongest relationships are built between two people who already believe they are worthy of love. One day, she told him, "I didn't make you strong." He replied, "No, you just reminded me I already was." Self-belief is the greatest love story you will ever live. Because when you believe in yourself, you stop chasing love that completes you, and start attracting love that walks beside you. Before anyone else ever holds your hand, self-belief is the one that reaches for your heart. It arrives quietly, long before romance, long before promises, long before someone looks at you and says, "I choose you." Self-belief is the first love because it teaches you how to stand in your own presence without feeling empty. It is the relationship that shows you your worth does not begin when someone notices you, but when you notice yourself. In every love story, there is a moment where someone chooses to stay. Self-belief makes that choice every day. When the world walks past you without stopping, self-belief sits down beside you. When rejection feels personal and silence feels loud, self-belief whispers that you are still deserving. It doesn't depend on compliments or validation. It doesn't need proof. It exists simply because you exist. People often think love starts when someone else believes in them. But the truth is, love becomes healthy only after you believe in yourself. Without self-belief, affection feels like oxygen, you panic at the thought of losing it. With self-belief, love becomes a shared breath, not survival. You don't beg to be chosen, because you have already chosen yourself. Self-belief teaches you boundaries the same way love does. It teaches you what you will tolerate, and what you will walk away from. It shows you that not every absence is abandonment and not every goodbye is a failure. Sometimes, love leaves so that belief can grow stronger. Sometimes, heartbreak is simply self-belief asking you to return home to yourself. In a love story, we often admire the one who stays loyal to another. But self-belief is loyalty turned inward. It is choosing yourself on days when you feel unlovable. It is looking at your flaws and still saying, "I am worthy of effort." It teaches you patience with your own growth, forgiveness for your mistakes, and faith in the person you are becoming. When self-belief becomes your first love, you stop asking love to fix you. You stop needing someone else to prove your value. And when someone finally does come into your life, they don't arrive to complete you, they arrive to meet you where you already stand, steady, open, and aware of your own worth. Every love story is tested, not by distance or time, but by doubt. Doubt is subtle. It doesn't crash into your life loudly, it slips in during quiet moments, when promises feel far away and progress feels slow. In those moments, belief becomes the difference between love that fades and love that deepens. When belief survives doubt, it doesn't just endure, it transforms. In love, doubt often sounds like insecurity. It asks questions that have no clear answers. What if I'm not enough? What if this effort leads nowhere? What if I fail again? These questions don't mean belief is weak, they mean belief is being challenged. True belief isn't the absence of doubt, it is the decision to stay even when certainty disappears. Think of two people sitting in silence after an argument. Words are heavy, trust feels fragile, and walking away seems easier than staying. Love grows in that pause. Belief says, stay, listen, try again, not because the outcome is guaranteed, but because the connection matters. The same thing happens within us. Self-belief asks us to remain present with ourselves when confidence feels shaken. Doubt wants proof before commitment. Belief commits first and learns along the way. In a love story, this is the moment when someone chooses to trust before everything makes sense. In life, it's choosing to keep moving toward a dream even when progress feels invisible. Belief survives by refusing to let one moment define the entire story. When belief stays, love matures. It becomes less about excitement and more about resilience. Less about being seen and more about being steady. Love that survives doubt doesn't depend on perfect conditions, it adapts. It learns how to breathe through uncertainty, how to grow in silence, how to hold space for fear without letting fear lead. People often think love is proven through grand gestures. But belief proves itself in smaller ways, in consistency, in patience, in returning after disappointment. When belief survives doubt, it teaches love how to be brave. It shows that strength is not loud confidence, but quiet commitment. And in that quiet space, love becomes something deeper, something rooted, something capable of lasting through uncertainty, misunderstanding, and the long nights where nothing feels certain yet belief still chooses to remain. Belief is contagious, especially when it is real and unforced. When someone believes in themselves quietly, without arrogance and without seeking approval, it changes the emotional temperature of the room. People feel it before they understand it. It's the same way love works. When one person loves honestly, it softens the walls of others. Self-belief has that same effect. It doesn't demand attention, but it invites trust. In a love story, there is always one person whose certainty becomes shelter for the other. Not certainty of success, but certainty of intention. When someone stands rooted in who they are, they make others feel safe enough to lean in. Their belief says, I am not afraid of my own becoming, and that courage gives others permission to face theirs. People who lack belief often look for it in others. They wait to be chosen, praised, or validated before they step forward. But when they encounter someone who already believes, something shifts. That self-belief acts like a mirror, reflecting possibility back at them. It reminds them of parts of themselves they had forgotten, parts that once dreamed without apology. In relationships, this is how love deepens. One person's belief creates space for the other to grow without fear of judgment. They don't rush, they don't pressure, they don't compete. Their belief isn't threatened by another's uncertainty. Instead, it becomes a steady presence that says, you can take your time. I trust you to find your way. This is why leaders, lovers, and mentors all share the same quiet strength. Their belief doesn't control others, it liberates them. It shows through consistency, through calmness under pressure, through the refusal to shrink when doubt appears. When people witness that kind of belief, they begin to question the limits they placed on themselves. In love, self-belief turns admiration into inspiration. It transforms attraction into alignment. The more someone stands firmly in their truth, the more others feel invited to stand in theirs. Belief doesn't pull people forward, it stands still and lets others rise to meet it. And in that shared rising, trust forms, connection deepens, and love grows from something fragile into something mutual, where belief flows naturally between two people without needing to be asked or proven. Rejection feels like being left unread by the universe. Like offering your heart, your effort, your dreams, and watching them be quietly declined. In love stories, rejection often arrives disguised as indifference, timing, or someone choosing a different path. Without self-belief, rejection feels personal, final, and defining. With self-belief, it becomes information rather than identity. Self-belief doesn't deny the pain of rejection. It allows the hurt to exist without letting it rewrite your worth. In love, this is the moment when someone chooses to walk away from a relationship that no longer sees them fully. It hurts not because love was wrong, but because belief is learning where it belongs. Rejection stops being a verdict and starts becoming a compass. Many people confuse rejection with failure. But love teaches us that not being chosen does not mean you are unlovable. It means the connection was incomplete. Self-belief reframes the story. It says, this didn't work because it wasn't aligned, not because I am lacking. That shift changes how the heart carries disappointment. In love stories, the strongest characters are not the ones who are never rejected, but the ones who do not abandon themselves afterward. They don't beg for closure. They don't chase explanations that drain their dignity. They grieve, they learn, and they move forward with their self-respect intact. That is self-belief protecting the heart. Redirection often looks like loss before it looks like clarity. A closed door forces a pause. That pause creates reflection. Reflection reveals desire more honestly. In love, rejection teaches you what kind of affection you will no longer accept and what kind of presence you truly need. Self-belief ensures that lesson becomes growth rather than bitterness. When rejection no longer defines you, it sharpens you. It strips away illusions, false attachments, and misplaced hope. It pushes you toward spaces where your effort is welcomed, where your love is returned with the same depth. Self-belief transforms rejection from something that weakens you into something that refines you, guiding you away from what cannot hold you and toward what is capable of meeting you fully, without apology or hesitation. True love is often described as something that remains, through storms, silence, distance, and change. But what is rarely spoken about is what allows love to stay in the first place. Self-belief is the foundation beneath devotion. Without it, love becomes fragile, dependent, and afraid. With it, love becomes a choice rather than a need. In love stories, people admire loyalty. They celebrate the one who never leaves. But staying means very little if it costs someone their sense of self. Self-belief ensures that love does not become self-erasure. It allows two people to stand side by side without leaning so heavily that one collapses. Love becomes possible when both hearts believe they are whole, even when they are growing. Self-belief shapes how love is given and received. When someone believes in themselves, they don't love from fear. They don't hold tighter when insecurity appears. They don't confuse control with care. Instead, they love with openness, trusting that connection does not require possession. Love becomes an offering, not a transaction. In relationships, self-belief protects against settling. It keeps people from mistaking attention for affection and consistency for commitment. It reminds the heart that love should expand you, not shrink you. When self-belief is present, love feels safe because it is not built on desperation. It is built on mutual respect. True love stays because it wants to, not because it has to. Self-belief creates that freedom. It allows love to choose presence without fear of abandonment. When both people believe in their worth, they stay out of desire rather than obligation. Love becomes lighter, calmer, and more honest. Even when love ends, self-belief ensures that the heart remains intact. It allows someone to say goodbye without losing themselves. It holds the understanding that love was real, even if it was temporary. Self-belief makes room for love to exist without ownership, without fear, and without regret, allowing the heart to remain open to connection while standing firmly in its own value, knowing that love is something you share, not something you use to survive.